We've all heard the story of the 7 days of creation from the book of Genesis 1,000 times. But today, we're going to look at it through a completely different lens, one that turns the whole story on its head.
So what if that ancient text wasn't a literal week-long to-do list? What if it's actually something else? A sophisticated step-by-step blueprint for the very dimensions of our reality. Almost like a user manual for the simulation we're all living in.
And this is the core idea we're diving into today. The theory is that each day isn't about time at all. It's about activating a new fundamental dimension, a new law of physics, a new layer of awareness. The text is a code, and we're going to try and crack it.
Okay, so let's start with the first 3 days. Now forget about planets and plants for a second. According to this model, this is all about setting up the foundational rules. You could say the base code for the entire physical universe.
We all know these words from the King James Bible, right? But the theory says, don't take it literally. This isn't the light from a sun or a lamp. No, this is the very first, most fundamental act of creation, bringing duality into existence.
So, think about it like this. Before this moment, everything was just one. Light here stands for pure, coherent energy, and darkness is its opposite, decoherence, the raw potential for matter. That very first split creates electromagnetism. The positive and negative charges that make a physical world even possible.
All right, day 2. The King James Version talks about a firmament that divides the waters. Now that language sounds pretty old school, but in this dimensional model, it's incredibly precise. It's talking about creating a boundary.
And this is where the code starts to make sense. The waters above represent the quantum realm, this world of pure potential, of infinite probability. And the waters below? Well, that's our classical, physical world, where things actually become solid and real. So that firmament is the boundary between them. It's the very membrane that makes the simulation work.
So with that boundary in place, something new can now pop out of the waters below. The text says, let the dry land appear. And again, this isn't just about making continents, it's about matter itself finally becoming stable.
So the dry land is really the birth of the third dimension. It's a stable, structured 3D space where particles can finally clump together into atoms and objects can actually interact. And for the very first time, you have a physical stage for action. And what comes with action? Consequence. The law of cause and effect, or karma.
Okay, let's keep going. So the simulation now has its basic physics and a 3D space to plan. The next 3 days are all about introducing the things that allow for an experience inside that simulation: time, life, and conscious choice.
Now, on day 4, the Bible gets really explicit about measuring time. But once again, the theory says this isn't about making the sun and the moon, it's about flicking the switch on the dimension of time itself.
The way this model sees it, time isn't some constant river we're all floating in. Nope, it's something that only comes into being when a conscious observer acts. That action creates change, a little bit of disorder, what scientists call entropy, and that is what gives time its forward direction. This arrow of time is what makes memory, stories, and experience possible.
Now, listen closely to the wording here from the King James Version. The moving creature that hath life. Our source material says this is a huge clue. Life isn't something that matter just figures out how to do. It's something that enters matter.
So day 5 is the dimension where consciousness itself, which the theory calls scalar light, a kind of universal conscious energy, actually incarnates into physical bodies. This is the moment the ghost gets into the machine. And with that, the soul officially enters the game, the cycle of cause and effect, karma, that was set up back in Dimension 3.
And on the 6th day, we finally get to humanity. And the text is super specific, isn't it? It doesn't just say man, but male and female. This isn't just a biology lesson. It's a hint about humanity's special job in the universe.
This is so cool. The theory suggests that this male-female duality in us is a perfect mirror of the universe's own fundamental particle-wave duality. The male principle is kinetic action, the particle. The female principle is potential energy, the wave. And when you put them together, well, that's what gives us the unique power to consciously co-create our reality.
So we've built the physics of the simulation, we've put players inside it. What else could there be? Well, this final day isn't just another layer, it's the destination. It's the whole point of the game. When we read that God rested, we usually think he put his feet up after a long week. But would an infinite being really get tired? This theory argues that rest
is actually a profound metaphor for something else entirely.
Rest is the state of enlightenment. It's the finish line. It's the whole goal of the soul's journey through the other 6 dimensions. It means finally transcending duality, getting free from the rules of space, time, and karma, and just returning to that state of pure unified consciousness where it all started.
So how does this all fit together? Well, here's the most important part of the whole theory, the big mind-bending shift in perspective. We have to stop thinking of these days as a chronological list of things that happened a long, long time ago.
And the answer, according to this idea, is a huge no. In fact, thinking of them in a straight line might be the biggest misunderstanding. Instead, we need to see them as nested, simultaneous layers of the reality that we are all experiencing right now.
See, you are existing in all 7 of these dimensions at this exact moment. You're connected to the source, separated by the boundary, acting in the world, experiencing time, you're animated by life, and you have the power of co-creation, all for the ultimate purpose of redemption, of returning home to that unified source state. And that final verse from the first chapter of Genesis, wow, it takes on a whole new meaning now, doesn't it? It's not just God being happy with his work, it's a declaration about the purpose of this incredibly intricate multidimensional system.
And that's the bottom line. If this dimensional map is right, then our entire universe, this whole complex simulation of space, time, karma, and consciousness, it isn't some random accident. It's a perfectly designed engine for spiritual evolution, a divine training ground with one single profound purpose, to turn a tiny spark of consciousness into a co-creator of reality itself. Makes you think, doesn't it?